Hear ye, and welcome to the Royal Geek Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Rollison, also known as T-Roll, and tonight I am joined by my very good friends. First of all, we have Justin Sandoval, a.k.a. Sandy, and we also have Anthony Amato, who we like to call Shamato. Gentlemen, welcome to the party.
Yes, man.
Yep.
Yes. What a week, man. What a week. Started my new job this week, and it's been fantastic.
Awesome.
So,
You get to
that's
be a
been
real
great.
human being for once.
I know. I feel like a real human being. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Justin is free from his previous job, which I love that we have officially still never mentioned on the pod.
No, never.
People who know you obviously know.
Right.
Yeah.
I think if we ever have a Patreon, maybe those will be the people we'll let know.
Yeah.
You know, the real committed followers, the fans. Yeah, but we'll keep it a big fat secret for now.
All you need to know is retail. And if you know retail, then you know this.
Pain and misery, but no more
Yes.
for you.
No,
So
no
congrats,
more.
buddy.
No more.
Yeah.
So if you guys pick up on Justin being even more excited and joyful in the coming pods, you'll know why.
You'll know why. Exactly.
Big shout out to all of our listeners, everybody who's tuning in, everybody who's listening or watching. We just want to remind you to please hit the subscribe button. So if you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe to our channel and subscribe to the podcast version as well on Apple, Spotify, wherever you catch the podcast. Please do that. Also, please follow us on social media at Royal Geek Pod. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us in various places, so check that out and join in on the fun. All right, boys, it's time to get into tonight's podcast. So last week we did a review of Phase 4 for Marvel, and we kind of ranked all of the projects within Phase 4, all the movies and series. And we just thought, you know what, or was that last week?
No,
That was
Stan
actually
Lee
2
last
weeks
week.
ago, but
Yeah, you guys know, 2 weeks ago. What did we talk about last week?
Stan
Stan
Lee
Lee.
cameos.
Yeah, duh. Man, y'all.
But the ranking,
Long week.
the ranking of Phase 4
Yeah.
inspired us.
Yes.
To do.
We've been doing a lot of rankings
Yeah.
lately. So if you haven't noticed, we're kind of waiting for stuff to come out. There really hasn't been a true like big movie yet, or something that we're going to cover like a show here on the pod. So we've been doing a lot of ranking shows lately, a lot of ranking episodes. And tonight we're going to continue that theme. And basically for the next few weeks, what we're going to do is, since we love Marvel, we're going to do a ranking of each phase. So what we mean by that is within the phase. So just like we did for Phase 4, we ranked all of those projects. We're going to do the same thing for Phase 1. We're going to do the same thing for Phase 2 and then Phase 3. So tonight is Phase 1.
Phase 1.
The phase that started it all. The first 6 movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And we are going to rank them. So just like the previous episodes, I know everybody's rankings. They don't know anyone else's. But I do have the collective ranking that we will work through. So with that in mind, it's time. Number 6. So the movie that comes in 6th place on our list of Phase 1 is, no surprise, The Incredible Hulk.
Was it unanimous?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
I figured. Yeah, The Incredible Hulk
Incredible Hulk.
is unanimous for
Yes.
sure. Gosh, man.
Just not a good movie.
It's
Yeah.
it's very bad.
Yeah, it was Marvel was still finding itself at this point. I think they felt like I've actually recently read a book that kind of the reason that they put it out there because it was their biggest property, and they were kind of like almost coerced into putting out that as one of its biggest properties to be one of the first movies that they made, even though it wasn't really like in their alley.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so forgettable.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is.
Like, seriously.
I do think that there are a few bright spots about this movie, and one of them is Thunderbolt Ross. I do think that character, he has been used over and over again throughout this series, Saga, and all that kind of stuff. And he plays he plays Thunderbolt. He's played just as he should be. He's a D-bag, general, sergeant,
over the top, hardcore military officer.
And
very much so.
Which is it's needed in this universe. This universe, you need somebody to be that kind of like extreme right. Like you need that person to kind of, help drive certain plot points along, especially in the Captain America franchise. He was a driving force in that for sure. But yeah, I think he was a great thing to come out of that.
I also, if you watched the podcast last week, you know that I ranked one of Stan Lee's cameos is one of my favorites from this movie. It's the only one where Stan Lee dies. And it's just, I mean, it's a real short one. He basically takes a drink of like contaminated, I believe it's soda of some sort, that the Hulk's blood got into, and he ends up basically dying because of that. So it's a memorable one to me, just like, seeing that. So that was an interesting scene. And, Tim Roth I felt like he was very good in this actually as Abomination. I enjoyed the pathway that he went in that. I feel like, unfortunately, recent events have kind of nerfed his character from the She-Hulk universe.
For now.
For now. I mean, yes. Hopefully there will be something in there. Maybe we'll find out that he's really just playing or something like that. But especially with the character that he created up to this point, he was a solid counter to the Hulk is Abomination.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there were some good aspects, but I mean, when your main character it's Edward Norton, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, Edward Norton.
Man, dude, I just not a big fan.
Didn't get behind that, huh?
No, maybe he's been good in other things, but I just didn't like him as the Hulk. I mean, I don't know what to say.
I didn't mind the CG design of the Hulk. The overly aggressive face with the rippling muscles. I didn't mind that. They did have to use a lot of scenes where he was either in the dark or wet, which it hides CG a little bit because you can kind of, you can mask the based on like, glares and all that kind of stuff. You can hide some of your imperfections, but I think it did look good. It did.
Yes, for sure. So clearly the last place movie of Phase 1.
Well,
probably
the biggest thing, let me tell you real quick, the biggest
you still want to talk about this movie?
Hold on. The biggest thing that came out of this movie is that when you finished watching this movie,
oh, yes.
You got Tony Stark in it, and you were like, holy crap, this is actually connected.
Yes.
Because you didn't really feel that yet until this movie.
Like when you saw... Go ahead.
We had never really seen a whole lot of that in general up until this point. We take it for granted now that universes are going to be connected, but when you had for example, when you had Spider-Man, you didn't expect to see Hulk at the end. You didn't expect to see the Fantastic Four or something like that, show up. Or, in the DC universe, at the end of a Batman movie, you weren't like, oh, Superman's going to show up, things like that. So it created this idea that universes could be connected and that studios were going to use that.
Yeah, fair. And I guess, you saw Nick Fury at the end of Iron Man, but that was still like, it's not like you had seen Nick Fury somewhere else. You're right.
Once he was a brand new character.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you see Tony Stark, it's like, oh, no, we thought it was going to happen, but I think there was also a lot of people who were like, yeah, sure.
Right, exactly.
So it really became real. So, all right, speaking of Iron Man, the number 5 movie on our list, but the number 2 Iron Man movie in our hearts is Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2.
Also unanimous. All 3 of us put it in 5th place.
Okay. Wow, how about that? Yeah, Iron Man 2. It had a lot going on in it. Jeez, man. It had some
Elon Musk was in it.
It had some funny moments. This movie had a lot
was great
of key comedy. I really enjoyed Justin Hammer's character. I really did.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Justin
Sam
Hammer
Rockwell
great.
is a phenomenal actor.
He is.
Yeah,
I still can't get the vision of him like doing the dance when he goes on screen. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
It truly is.
Yeah, I feel like this it suffered from the fact that Marvel hadn't quite yet mastered like the weight of the universe quite yet, because it was only the 3rd movie that they had ever made as a part of this MCU, which some of us may have forgotten that it was that early in the franchise.
Yes.
But I feel like at that point they were still kind of like, okay, so what direction they're going in, how much are things going to be connected with other things, and then dealing with like the intense success of Iron Man, you were kind of like I feel like they were kind of maybe a little bit overwhelmed by the pressures of building their first true sequel.
Yeah, I think they gave Jon Favreau the reins for the second movie, which I think they wanted to take the hype of the first movie and try to replicate that. And don't get me wrong, Jon Favreau, he did a great job for that movie. It wasn't necessarily a bad movie. It was just it had a lot of moments where I feel like it wanted the stage to be higher, but like you said, it didn't build that world yet. And I feel like that's kind of where the movie fell flat, because all of these actors and characters in this movie are acting like the world is ending, but in all actuality, it's just like this one little area, and it's a few robots flying around. Like that's it. Like the stakes aren't there, but they're treating it like it's like life or death.
Yeah, I do think the biggest impact that it has on like the whole universe as a generality is, of course, like the introduction of Black Widow. You know,
yes.
you get Scarlett Johansson showing up in a great piece of physical comedic comedy with her in the ring with Happy,
yeah,
which was a hilarious scene where you get to see her just like beat him to pieces. And so that was great to see that, and you do get to see his first like rival show up, like we were saying with Justin Hammer and everything like that. I do feel like this was the first like once again it comes down to who your villain is, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like they were kind of just trying to do the thing that studios sometimes do, where like an actor is hot at the moment, but maybe not hot overall, because at that point Mickey Rourke was just coming off The Wrestler, and I feel like they were like trying to grab onto that role that he was playing there and use his current fame and his hotness in Hollywood to launch him to a next level. And it was a kind of like a quick burn with his character set, so I don't think it was really set up quite right for him to be the like big bad that they wanted him to be.
I want to see my bud.
Yes, I love that, man. I love it.
Yeah, it was, it's like, it's not the worst movie for sure. Even across the MCU. I'm trying to remember.
Or even Iron Man movie.
Yeah, that's true. Or even the worst Iron Man movie, which we'll get to next week.
I cannot wait.
Yeah. But it wasn't great, and yeah, it didn't have a strong villain. The recasting of Rhodes, which
yes,
that was a big part too.
Thing. Yep,
which they did very classy, like the little courtroom scene where
I'm here, get over it.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, it was great. And even that actual whole scene is spectacular.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So really good scene.
Yeah, there's a lot of great moments in this.
There really are.
Yeah.
And there's an F at the Formula One race.
That's true. Yeah,
Monaco Grand Prix.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are some cool moments, some good action.
Pepper's character develops more in this one. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, I'm talking myself into like believing it's better than it is actually.
That's what we're here for.
It's still, for me, not as good as the rest of the four.
In phase one, it's cemented. We're in the correct spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna move it either direction. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, all right, on to the number 4 movie.
Are we still unanimous, or are we still
no longer unanimous?
Okay, all right, here we go.
In fact,
tie.
There's a tie.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, there is a tie. So tied in third, I guess. Yeah. So there's 2 movies who are tied for third. The first one is Thor, which came right after Iron Man 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Now the real question is, T-roll, who did you side with? Because I'm pretty sure I know where it went for me. Well, I know where it went for me.
What do you mean?
I'm pretty sure I know where it went for. For Justin?
You just want me to say what the third movie is too? The other movie that's tied for third?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but I'm gonna say, just do your thing.
No, let's just talk about Thor.
Okay, let's talk about Thor. Yeah, let's talk about Thor. So, Chris Hemsworth shows up.
Yes.
I mean, it's not a great movie, but I always say, like, it's so important for understanding not only Thor, but Loki. It's massively important.
Yeah. Tom Hiddleston came onto the scene here, and I mean, he literally created a phenomenon.
Stole the show.
It was something that we had not seen in a long time, as far as an act. Like, for example, I would contribute like Jack Sparrow to kind of being that kind of that Loki character. The last time we saw that,
I mean, he up until Infinity War, he was the villain of the MCU.
Yeah.
Like overall,
villain,
he was
yeah.
the villain.
The top villain.
Even though you'd heard about Thanos a couple times in between, but up until Infinity War, he was the villain.
Yeah, and this is where it all began. And you see just his hurt of being the the adopted son.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it was yeah, it was great. So,
And then I think him and Chris Hemsworth's dynamic, they played off each other because Chris Hemsworth does a very good arrogant son portrayal, and Loki does a good reverse, a good opposite of that. They really do have chemistry, but I think Chris Hemsworth really has chemistry with everybody. I mean, he's somebody who, yes, he does like absorb the scene because he's just such a massive individual. But
beautiful.
Tenfold. But then he like builds up and plays off of other characters very well, and that's why. I mean, you see him later on interacting with so many other characters like Hulk and the Guardians, and in his movies, like that kind of thing, because he does a good job of building them up.
Yeah, and like just like he's very good at like little looks, and things like that. But I've always been kind of a sucker for the Thor universe in general. I'm generally higher on Thor than other characters. I feel like in the MCU sometimes, and I just really I also just feel like he takes such a journey in each of his movies. I feel like they're, from the beginning of Thor to the end of the first Thor he's massively different.
Yes.
Yes. And just his and his personality, and it just feels like he earned it as he was going through, and he really learned as he was going through. It wasn't lots of times you see like it's like a snap. It's like, oh, now all of a sudden I'm a good person. But really it felt like he was learning his way through it, and really earning the way that he was. The growth that he made at the end of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
yeah, he came a long way even in that first movie. Like you said, he was such an arrogant punk, always wanting war.
Yes.
Right? Like
Yes.
that was a big thing. And he really gets humbled.
Yes.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. And
I really enjoy Anthony Hopkins' performance as Odin in this.
Yes.
Like, he does a good job of, being that father who has to discipline his son,
Yeah.
and then
and gets a heart attack.
Then he gets a heart attack. But
Yeah.
he does. I think he does a great job in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, just the scene where he goes after Mjolnir, and like just seeing him fight on it, and the way that he feels like he's been betrayed by it's a powerful scene when you just think about it in that way.
Yeah. That scene where Loki visits him when he's imprisoned. And,
Yes.
and he says that father's like cast him out, and like that's just a good scene.
Yeah,
that was such a good scene.
And if I had to guess, I do believe Thor and then the next movie we're going to talk about are tied for best supporting characters. Like they in the entire Phase 1, these two movies have the best supporting characters. I mean, we get Sif in Thor, which is
I love.
she does a great
Sif.
job. As,
Jamie Alexander is amazing.
Yes, Jamie Alexander. But then I'm throwing Natalie Portman aside. We don't really need Natalie Portman because there were so many others. But because even Frigga, like she was great in Thor
Frigga.
as well.
Frigga is one of my favorite side characters.
but,
when we did our side character draft, she was one of
Yes.
one of my elite ones.
Yes, but then Dr. Selvig and even Darcy.
Yes, Darcy.
yes.
Yeah, Darcy was pretty awesome. You really do get to see some interesting like side character play.
And a little bit of a larger role for Coulson. Like, I mean, it was expanded upon. I mean, Iron Man 2 was definitely large, but like you could see that carrying over. And here he goes. He's picking up steam here. So
for sure.
and
Hawkeye.
yes,
the
that's
introduction
where
of
we go.
Hawkeye.
Yes, Hawkeye was introduced, but I loved how subtle and brief it was.
Yeah,
and it wasn't
for sure.
It wasn't like a in your face, like, oh, here's Hawkeye. They don't say Hawkeye. They just
They do call him the Hawk.
yes, they do.
Selvig does.
Yeah,
So
but
he's
they
up at
say
his
they do
nest.
say Barton though. They do say
Yes,
Barton.
Barton.
I do say Barton, and he also makes the most blunt scene is he goes for the rack, and he's like, "There's a bunch of guns," and he's
And
just
he
like,
grabs the arrow. Yeah.
he grabs the arrow,
Yeah.
the bowed arrow.
Yeah.
It's good. All right, so that was Thor tied for third place, and the movie that it's tied with is Iron Man.
Is it really?
No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, no way. No way.
No, it's not. It's not. It's actually Captain America,
Yes.
the first Avenger.
And that's what I suspected. It'd
Yeah,
be.
no,
Yeah.
I knew that would get
Me
me.
too.
Yeah.
All right, so just like from a perspective, I know I had Thor 3 and Captain America 4.
I had Thor in third as well.
Okay. All right, I'm guessing you probably had Cap ahead of Thor. For sure.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you want to guess where on his list Cap was?
I'm gonna leave it like blank because there is a possibility he could. I know Justin has an affinity for the first Avenger, and so he may
He likes to
have it
stir
a little
things
bit
up
off.
on his list,
Yes.
doesn't he? His rankings.
So
I have
I'm gonna leave it
preferences.
there for so it doesn't spoil anything. But yeah.
Well, Justin, you definitely had, for one thing's for sure, we won't say where on your list, but you definitely had Captain America: The First Avenger higher
I did.
than us. So why don't you kind of?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna actually
so
say I'm at 2. That's what I'm gonna say.
I will confirm and say that yes, you had
Yes,
that too.
you did.
I just did some quick math.
calculations. Yeah,
Yes.
I figured. You're very good with calculations.
Yes.
Do with calculations.
But yes, I really did enjoy Captain America: First Avenger.
How many times, for the people in the back, how many times did you see it in theaters, Justin?
I was going to lead off with that. I saw this movie 5 times. in
No, I thought it
theaters.
was 6.
Was it? No, it's 5.
Is it 5?
It's 5.
I could have sworn you told me 6.
It's oh gosh. I go back and look through my stubs, but
Man,
I'm
'cause
pretty. Actually, you know what? Yes,
It is
It is
6.
6 because I forgot about the one. I erased one of the memory because it involved a person that we don't communicate
okay.
with anymore.
Fair enough.
Anyway, but yes, it was 6. I saw this movie 6 times in theaters. I remember this so vividly because I don't know. A lot of people talk about this movie is a little bit boring, a little bit slow at sometimes, and it doesn't pick up until he actually gets his costume. But I think some of the best storytelling for this character is done in that first portion when he has yet to become Captain America. Because I think seeing him as Scrawny Cap or whatever you want to call him, I think it's so pivotal to the character that we see at the end of Phase 1 in the Avengers. It truly does play a very pivotal role. He is that scrappy kid from Brooklyn who just wants to do good. His main purpose is to do good.
Yeah.
And I think that him and Peggy Carter's relationship as it grows, like the fact that you can see she kind of like shows him pity when he's that little scrawny kid, but then it does grow into adoration, and you kind of see that build, and she respects him for the fact that he never wavered on his wanting to do good. He was constant. Good was the constant that stayed through him throughout the entirety of his journey, even the end game. At the end of the day, he was trying to do good for the betterment of the people. Like that's what it is, and that's what he represents.
Yeah, well, I think, like you were saying, it's so important in the beginning the part of that because it's easy or easier to do good and to want to do good when you have been given everything. And that's what he is once he becomes big. And once he becomes truly Captain America. But it's significantly harder to do that when you are the scrappy underdog, when you have to fight against everything just to get yourself in contention for anything in life. Every time you're being overlooked, it's hard to continually go and come at it with a positive attitude and think of it as in the, doing the good and doing things in the right way. And, it builds so much into, it would mean so much less for what, Tommy Lee Jones said is the whole struggle with Tommy Lee Jones's character and with Stanley Tucci's character, and they're struggling with the idea of who should be Captain America, and everything before that is the template that is based off of what they want to be Captain America. Because if he already had the powers, it's like, well, he hasn't had struggle in his life, he hasn't had to go up against these things, so. It's like I said, it's easier for him to make the right decision because he has been given all these positives in life.
Yeah, and the scene with the grenade is just, I think that
Yes.
that is the definition of what makes Captain America Captain America, and it's the willingness to put himself in front of all of these chaotic problems and events to ensure that everybody else around him is protected, and that's Captain America at its core.
Yep.
And Chris Evans, which to this day, yes, I still get that picture from Not Another Teen Movie of Chris Evans in there. that character of that Chris Evans persona is turned into this symbol of good in Captain America, and so I don't know. There's just so many great things that it had going for it, in my opinion, and which I'm probably in the minority here, but yes, I love this
that
movie.
scene when he walks up in Not Another Teen Movie and he looks at a picture of himself. Oh, it's
great.
just, it's elite.
Yeah, it absolutely is great.
Yeah.
Oh, and let's do a quick shout out for the reveal, like when he goes from skinny to big cap, man.
buff.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that is a
Yes.
scene of all scenes, man.
Yeah.
And then an underrated villain. I feel like
Yes.
Hugo Weaving.
It's a shame they couldn't get him to come back.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is a shame that they can come back. I don't know. Maybe it had to do with. I mean, I don't know if it was just the MCU. Maybe he just didn't. I mean, spitballing here. Maybe it was because of the Matrix sequels that he felt like he couldn't. He didn't want to come back for more sequels because of the 2 and 3 were kind of mishandled with the Matrix. Because I mean, he was willing to come back for the Lord of the Rings, and those are but he wasn't willing to.
But I'm willing to argue that his Hugo Weaving's character may have been the best part about the sequels in Matrix. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of enjoyed his character.
But
Mr. Smith.
not necessarily him, but
Yeah.
like the
way it was
production was
handled.
so
Okay.
the ulterior parts of it and the quality drop that happened after the first Matrix movies is I mean. I'm just spitballing. I haven't really heard anything him come out about it, but I feel like that could have been a possibility of
Pure
why
speculation here.
Felt that he didn't want to come back for sequels, especially since he had already been in a trilogy, and then he comes to do another trilogy, and then if he has a chance to do more, sequel work, and he ends up not, coming back for it. So
Yeah,
but yeah,
his opening scene where he's finding the
Tesseract.
Tesseract, yes, where he's finding the Tesseract in the little German town. It's a great scene, man. Gosh,
Is it German? I think it's actually Norway.
Norway.
Yeah, I think it is Norway. Yeah.
Great scene.
Yeah.
It's okay. Great scene and a really good movie. I mean, I enjoy it. I think sometimes I fall into the trap of it's it's an old movie, right? Because it's about an older.
Which I'm interested to hear how you pitched it, because I know you went on a rewatch with a couple who's never seen it before.
Well,
I'm interested in how you pitched that movie.
Well, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it with them.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, because there's like 20-something movies. So I
Right.
couldn't watch them all together. I think I don't know what I said, honestly.
Okay. Fair
I
enough.
really don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think it's super important and it's good. I think sometimes I give into the criticism of it feeling like a slow movie. It does feel slow, but that's because like you said, for much of it, they're developing a character and multiple characters, not just
They're developing
pure
a
action.
symbol. That's what they're
Yeah, that's
developing.
right.
Well, and character is just is so important for him as a character because he has to be above reproach. You have to see every step along the way. They have to break it down because he is the symbol. He is the person who is supposed to be the perfect example of what the greatest that America can produce is. That's what he is as Captain America. So you have to see him continually go up against things and bounce back.
Yeah.
So like you kind of have to see. You kind of have to see how the sausage is being made in a way, for you to really
How the cap is being
comprehend.
made.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, and then we were introduced to Hydra in this movie.
We are.
Yes.
Which plays a pivotal factor.
for like ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even
It's true.
still,
Yes.
right? Like I think maybe.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, absolutely.
A pivotal feature, saving a great movie or a great TV series.
I would say, yeah. TV. It does save a great
Yes.
TV series.
Yes,
Yes,
it
I
does.
agree.
Yes. Oh, man. But anyways, really good movie. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we want to say about Cap.
Cap's elite, man.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he's elite. I mean, Howard Stark was a phenomenal
yeah,
little
that's
side
right,
character.
yes.
You get to see the first remnants of him in there, and there were some great little cameos of potential characters. With the first Human Torch is in there at one point when they go to the expo. So I mean, there's just some interesting things that go on.
We didn't even. Yes, I mentioned Agent Carter, but let's give her time to shine, man. Like she was phenomenal. I mean,
Yes,
to
yes,
be-
she was.
Haley
a great
Atwell
character.
she did a great job with this character, and she loved this character so much that they did a series
Yes.
based
A spin-off,
around
yeah.
her. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
how great
exactly.
is that? And then she not only do we see her when she's in old age in the later Captain Americas, but like the relationship that they develop in this first movie. You get to see it play out in Civil War when we have the funeral scene, and then you even get that moment of like in Endgame when Cap
when he
goes
finally
back. Yeah.
gets it.
He gets his
well,
dance.
Yeah, when he finally gets his dance, which is a phenomenal
because
scene.
that
like,
back and forth between them as he's crashing the ship
Oh,
into
gut-wrenching.
Yes, it is
Gut-wrenching.
absolutely gut wrenching.
Yes.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, that was phenomenal, and just I mean, it's a far-reaching film, and a lot of the stuff that happens in it really does. I mean, it sets the stage for the whole MCU in a lot of ways, just because of the fact that it's literally the first set movie.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and then the post-credit scene,
Yeah, that's right.
which was actually like a trailer.
That's right. It was
Literally
a teaser trailer.
Yeah, teaser trailer for a movie we'll talk about soon. But yeah, that was. I mean, when he wakes up in New York and Times Square,
Wild.
present day.
Yeah.
So then Shield rolls up on him. Yeah, it's goosebumps, man. All right, let's move on. So the next movie, number 2 on the list. All right, there was a little bit of variance here with our list. Number 2 is Iron Man.
Yeah. I figured this is where I figured when we were talking pre-pod of like I'm gonna mix things up a little bit and you guys are gonna probably hate me, but I figured you both would have Iron Man at number 2.
I mean, I felt like.
Well, you did.
No, I did not have Iron Man at number 2, did I?
Yeah, you
Oh,
did.
Did I?
Yeah,
No, I thought I had
That
Cap
no.
at number 2.
you had Iron Man at number 2.
Did I?
100%.
Oh,
God.
Amato's
well,
the
then-
one who didn't.
Oh.
Yeah, look at you. All this
Yeah.
talk, bro.
Wow.
All this
okay.
talk.
I see. I forgot my list now. I don't
Attention to
know.
detail, man. You're
Yeah.
terrible
my bad.
at it.
My
bro.
bad, dude. My bad.
Well, I mean, and in general, the way that I saw these rankings as I was looking at them, they were in 3 different pods in my mind. There was the 5-6 pod, which, really was set in stone. I knew there was going to be the 3-4 pod, which was going to be Captain Thor. Those 2 movies. And I knew there was going to be a 1-2 pod in my mind. As it was going along, it was going to be, everyone's going to vote for either Iron Man 1 and Avengers 2, or, flip those around. However you're going to do it. That's how I broke them down in my mind. And I felt like there was a pretty solid split, even to the point to where for when I messaged T-Roll, I literally left a huge gap between
You
3
hit
and 4
enter
and-
like 4 or 5 times. Yeah.
between the 3, 4, and 5, 6 picks, and then I even messed with him a little bit more when I did the 1-2 pick.
Yeah,
So
he
doing
did
the
it
1A,
1B.
Interesting.
And I'm
So-
like, the point system. Yeah, I was like, if they split the top spot, then they have to split those points.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, but anyways,
But yeah, I mean, Iron Man. I mean, it set it legitimately changed the movie landscape. Like, I know it sounds hyperbolic, but it is probably the most important movie of the last 15 years to the movie industry, in the sense of just, impact that it has on everything.
can I interrupt you real quick?
Yes.
You had Iron Man 3, bro. Not even at 2. How drunk are you right now?
No, you're kidding. Dude.
That's your email, Justin Sandoval. Avengers. You said Avengers,
Yeah.
obviously.
See, I knew I had Captain America number 2.
Captain America 2, and then
Yeah.
Iron Man 3.
That's what I just said.
No, you were saying that you had Iron Man in 1.
No.
No.
Did I say that?
Well, that's what I thought
guess
you were saying.
it sounded
did
like
not-
you were implying that.
That's what it sounded
no,
like.
But
That's why
no.
I'm so confused.
Now that we're actually thinking about everything out,
No.
yes.
I-
But
I think
it,
number
it
one
did,
is
it did
unanimous.
sound like
Yeah.
you. It's not, but
you understand how I was confused,
yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
The way
Sweet.
that you said it made it seem like you were implying something else.
Okay.
But you
I
you
knew
were
I had
not like
Cap at
the way
2.
that you were going.
I knew
yes.
I had Cap at 2.
All right,
Yes.
all right. Fair enough.
Iron
fair
Man,
enough.
I had number 3.
Yes.
Fair
Very
enough.
much. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're never clear with anything.
My bad, dude.
You know what? I'm
Yeah.
turning your mic off.
Wow. Don't do
Yeah.
that. Don't do that. Okay. That small hiccup. Anyway.
Yeah,
moving
yeah.
on.
Keep going, Shimano.
But
Iron
yeah,
Man.
like I mean, it's one of the most like I said, it's one of the most important movies to the film industry over the last 15 years, just because of what it set in motion. It was the first step out. It like so much could have gone wrong in the sense of the building of the MCU if this movie hadn't landed. So much could have gone wrong if they had just decided, you know what, like we're gonna switch up our release date order.
Right.
What if the Incredible Hulk had come out first and kind of like bombed the universe setup, and you hadn't had the strength of Iron Man to come out first, and then had the Incredible Hulk come out second? And you got to give a lot of credit to Marvel in general for being like, we're going to step out there with a character that we want to go with. We're not just going to go with, our biggest heavy hitter that we currently have possession of. We're going to go with somebody who we can feel like we can build a great story around, and that's what they went out and did.
Yeah, and you mentioned if they screwed this up, they would have screwed up a lot of things, right? But
yes,
this movie had a lot going up against it because first off, it was Marvel Studios' first real thing because had just formed to be a studio, right? They had just they're using characters that they owned at that time.
They also didn't have Disney's backing yet,
correct.
So that's a big thing.
No
they didn't
Disney's
have that
backing
big
or
money
funding.
behind them,
correct. And then they choose a lead actor in Robert Downey Jr. who's coming off of some sketchiness, like he's out of rehab, that kind of thing, right? And
it was a very controversial.
Yeah, so he's rebuilding his own image at this moment. Because the Robert Downey Jr. that has evolved from this role till now, like Robert Downey Jr., he loves him, like he's phenomenal. So if that flops, they're gonna be like, well, they use this actor, and then they don't have the money to back anything up, any production value up. But it all worked. All the cards fell because not only is RDJ's performance in this movie phenomenal, and not only phenomenal, but it's one of those like redefining characters of the last 15 years.
You get to think about it, like right now it is almost impossible to think of anybody else playing Iron Man. And I know that's something that we may have to come to grips at some point in the potentially near future. But, at this point, you can't think of anybody else being Iron Man right now. He is Iron Man. Like, where they've redesigned everything to look like him, he is Iron Man.
Yeah, I agree.
And he even said that.
Yeah.
He lets you know. He makes sure that you
100%.
Which
understand
is also what
clearly
made like the movie so great is like the way it just ends with the mic drop.
Oh, yeah.
His own pipe bomb. Like, it's just great.
Yeah. And I feel like Jeff Bridges' character throughout the entire Obadiah Stane, he is a good back and forth with Tony Stark. And to see an actor with the caliber of Jeff Bridges to be in this introductory movie for Marvel Studios, which I don't know if you guys read like the recent articles that came out with Jeff Bridges didn't even read the script. He just kind of went in and did his thing.
Really?
And that's why
what a stud.
That's why the one scene for me that stands out, that now that I know this information, I'm like, oh yeah, he definitely, like, that was improvised, where he said he built this in a cave from scraps, like that scene. And I was like, yeah, that he definitely improvised that scene for sure.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
But and then you had like the strong, like Pepper Potts' character was she was a great, secondary character, the person who was there to keep him in check, keep him in line. And it's another great representation of just how Jon Favreau is like an underrated, creator of content in general.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
I mean, he's done so much for the movie industry for over the last basically since the year 2000.
Yeah,
he's done he's been behind a lot of revitalization of a lot
The Mandalorian, man.
I mean,
come on.
The Mandalorian, his work in even the Jungle Book, like building some of that stuff out. Elf, he is. I mean, he legitimately Bill.
4 Christmases.
He was. He was the builder of the first MCU movie. I mean, he has a lot of his hands in a lot of things that
and even his performances were always good. Literally in every movie within Marvel that he's in.
Yeah,
as Happy. It's also great.
Yeah, the Spider-Man movies, I think it just only elevates his character as Happy. And his performance as an actor overall has always been decent to above average, or even elite in Chef. Like, I don't know if you've seen Chef or not, but he is fantastic in that movie. Like, he really truly is.
Yeah.
So there's a lot working here for Iron Man. I mean, and the risks that they took, which they were true risks at the time, they all paid off. And now this movie from a small studio at the time, which is now a studio that is owned by Disney now. That's how important that studio grew to.
Yes.
It launched an entire universe that I don't feel like is stopping anytime soon.
No.
Nah, man. It's just getting cooking again.
That movie launched podcasts across the world.
It did. Yeah, I mean, that movie, man, it's the linchpin for so much.
Yeah, it really is.
So, yeah. All right. That leaves number 1, which
easily
to me was obvious. Yeah. What Iron Man did? Iron Man was so important because it started everything, but the first Avengers movie really is what probably had the most noticeable impact of maybe any movie, or not any movie ever, but man, you could have a fun discussion of like of movies all time. What are the most impactful? And like what Avengers did in 2012, which doesn't sound that long ago. That was 11 years ago now.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
What that movie did, 11 years ago. Anyways, what that movie did and how it impacted just cinema, you know? Like you got to see all these heroes, all these characters from different movies come together, man. It was
not just like the same content, but literally they had their own movies. And I think that was the secret formula to it, was that they gave them their own movies to give them space to be a character.
Yes, that helps.
You know? So you don't have to spend 20 minutes or sometimes way, way, way less than that on building up a character's, so you know where a character is coming from. Like you didn't need, 10 minutes on Thor. You didn't need 10 minutes on, the Hulk. You didn't need 10 minutes on Captain America. You didn't need 10 minutes on Iron Man just to tell their origin story to get to the starting line.
Yeah, and here's a great example. When Thor shows up to like steal Loki back from the Quinjet that they got.
Yeah.
It's like there was a whole movie that explained who that guy was. You didn't have to wonder like who's the dude that just appeared out of the lightning.
Jumped out of the sky, yeah.
To bring in one of my favorite lines in the whole MCU.
Well, let's hear it.
He's adopted.
Oh,
I love that line so much. Like after he drops all the stuff that he had done,
bragging about, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, man. I mean, not only first of all, it was a good movie.
It was.
Like, it was actually a good movie.
Yeah.
Like the whole battle scene at the end, it's like almost an hour.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Like it's just like it. Yeah, the movie flows really well.
Joss Whedon.
Yeah, Joss Whedon pulled it off, man. I mean, he rocked it, and so not only was the movie good, but also like, man, the experience of watching that movie in the theaters, the first time,
wild, absolutely. You and I saw it together, right?
We did.
It was truly epic, and I remember the week leading up to it, we were watching all the movies just to get
for your pops.
Yes. Oh yeah. My dad had never seen them, and he was visiting me from California, and he had never seen them, and so we watched them all, and then it was a group of us that went to go watch it, and it was a crazy experience. I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. I recently was going through back all my old stuff, and I have the IMAX 12:01 a.m. poster still, and I recently just hung it up. So
nice.
It's exciting, man. It truly was an event. Endgame was an event, a cinematic event, as similar, and then Avengers kind of set that stage to be able to have, that type of movie to where it brings everything together. It was great, man.
Yeah, it's funny because what Endgame was in its like premiere night is obviously like probably never be beaten. But like let's not forget how amazing 2012 was when you're watching Avengers, the first one.
That's true.
You know, like it was just mind blowing to see all that. So gosh, man.
And I think they did a really good job of juggling the characters. They really did, and everybody. They flowed very well. Everything was just so in sync.
Like they all really got good screen time. Like
I think the story was so well written to where it was able to unfold in a way that where you really didn't feel like anybody was kind of shafted for their screen time, which like Hawkeye, he got his due time because he wasn't in any of the other movies except for the little small snippet in Thor. So we actually got that time with Hawkeye in Avengers.
Yeah.
And Natasha was able to build off of that. Yeah.
Yeah. When Loki kind of takes control of him.
Yeah.
And even like if they did have a little bit less time, it was impactful time that they gave them. Like there were a lot of moments with like Black Widow in the movie that were like the way that you really got to see the like inner machinations of her mind in a lot of ways in the movie, and the way that she would use her spycraft to do things, like the way that she twisted Loki's mind,
right?
When Loki thinks he's playing her and she's really playing him. So you get to see that, and then you get the whole the whole opening with her too, as well, with her,
in Russia.
Yes, it's actually India, but
Oh, really?
yes.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it was in Russia.
I'm pretty sure it's India.
No, Hulk's in India, but
Hulk-
she's
no, Hulk's
not.
in-
She's in Russia.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, on the phone, yes, she is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hulk's in. Yeah, he's in India. I
It's
thought
not.
it was-
It's not
'cause
India.
she
but
goes-
It's
thought
not
it was
actually.
Brazil.
It's no. It's somewhere else in
All right.
in Asia
Yep.
somewhere.
Anyway, but like you get to see
Whatever.
like her use her spycraft to, get information. You get a lot of those little scenes with her to see, build her character out. But yeah, then you
Indonesia,
get.
maybe. I was
What
gonna
was
say
that?
Indonesia, maybe. I don't know. It was somewhere out there. Sorry.
Yeah.
She does build her craft though as a
Yes.
spy. Yeah.
Let's just forget Hulk's location because we clearly don't know what we're talking
Well,
about.
then we also get Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo's
Yeah, that's
introduced
right.
in this movie. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good segue, right? Us scrambling,
so-
trying to figure out locations.
right, and then like
Yeah.
his interactions as Bruce Banner were fantastic.
Yes.
But then also, the best part of this movie is literally the Hulk.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like the action, and I mean the punch.
Oh
I mean,
my gosh. yeah.
Still to this day, of everything that's happened in the MCU,
Yeah.
if you were to make a list, maybe that's something else we do sometime. Of like the best, not whole scenes, but just like one
Moment?
like a moment. Like that's still it's
Or
up there
I
for
mean,
me.
or puny god.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Like
Yeah, we're just throwing Loki around like a rag
Yes.
doll.
That's
Yeah.
great, man. And yeah, you're right. Especially when Cap, like he gives his orders, he's giving his directives, and he's like, Hulk, smash.
Yeah.
And then he jumps into the buildings and just starts going ham, and it's
Yeah,
wild, dude.
yes.
It's absolutely wild.
Yes, man. Yeah, the first Avengers was it's just sensational. Yeah.
I agree.
I kind of want to go watch it.
I
again.
agree.
Actually, I actually watched it not that long ago.
I know
so.
you didn't. Yeah.
well,
but,
and I think part of it is just the fact that it's like it had this you had this unknowing going into it of how good it was actually going to be, whereas like because there was no precedent set. We had not seen these team ups really
For
before
sure.
now. But like I mean, it was so
Like you
there
knew it
was
was
so
going to
much.
be awesome. It might not have been a good movie, but we knew it was going to be awesome.
Awesome just to see those characters
Right.
all working in that world.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Right.
Um,
so then when it also became a freaking great movie,
Yeah.
it was perfect.
It-
you know?
yeah, like so it played out really well, and it's hard. Like I mean, it'll be hard for anything else to kind of match that because there's expectations now. Because going into it, like I was saying, like
it set the bar for team up
Yes.
movies.
yes, it really did. I mean, every other movie is going to be rated up against it. That
Yeah.
ever comes out. And
Yeah.
it's a team up.
Absolutely. And I mean Loki,
Oh yeah.
right? We get
Continuation of
Continuation
Loki.
Once
of
yeah.
again.
Loki, strong villain.
Which him and Cap's interaction in the beginning is very good.
Oh,
Yeah.
in Germany.
Oh yeah, in
yeah,
Germany.
Yeah, that was good for
Oh
sure.
man, I forget exactly the line or whatever, but he's like, last time I was in this in Germany, and
Yeah.
there's somebody standing over all these people kneeling.
We
Like,
didn't see eye to
yeah,
eye.
oh man,
Yeah.
beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
And then the end credit scene.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, this was. I don't think anyone forgets this, but this is when we get introduced, to Thanos. Now, for people like these two, they knew exactly who that guy was in 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Myself, I had to go on YouTube, or I think I just asked you. Who
you,
that
you asked
was.
me in the car as soon
Yeah.
as we got in the car. Yeah.
But it's like what that meant. Well, we'll say that as someone who had the awareness back then that you did. Like, what were you? Remind me even now, like how you took that moment and when you saw Thanos in the post credit scene.
So it's a lot of things because obviously, let's flash all the way back to Iron Man. Iron Man, we said, oh, the Avengers Initiative, right? And so you're like, oh yeah, sure, we'll see when we see it.
Yes.
But then they actually they actually did what they said they were going to do. So then when you get to the Avengers end credit scene and you see Thanos just standing there and he looks back, it gives a little grin, and then it happens. You're like, no freaking way, because they're actually going to attempt this Infinity Saga because that's what Thanos is mainly known for in the comic book world. And the fact that they are giving that to you as a post-credit scene, telling you as the fans, we're about to do something crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt. And it was like, because of what they did with Iron Man and building up to this Avengers movie, you knew that they were going to do it. You knew
Which
they
was
were going to
4
execute.
years,
Yeah.
by the way.
You knew that they were going to execute it. And you saw Thanos there and you're like, they're about to freaking do the Gauntlet Saga.
Yeah.
Like, they're about to do this thing. And they
the only
did it.
thing about it was like, I think we were all kind of expecting it to be a little bit sooner. But they played it
build.
out
For what to be
so
sooner?
well. Like the introduction, the true introduction of Thanos. I think everybody kind of thought it was going to be sooner than it actually ended up being, with it being all the way in Infinity War. I think people were kind of expecting
sorry.
like
Yeah.
But I
more
love
immediate
that.
payout. Oh, I think they did a fantastic job in playing it out and letting it the anticipation grow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And, the way they did it. But I think we were kind of like, are we going to see him in a movie or two? Is he going to be, like, in the next movie? Because you're kind of expecting something similar to that. Like, the idea of something paying off in 6 years, was not really, like, we weren't really able to comprehend that idea yet.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what made the short film that they did with Thor and his roommate Daryl. Where he's like,
wow.
who is the purple alien or whatever, and why is he always sitting in a chair? Because that's all we had seen in Guardians. He just sat down the whole time.
That's right.
Yeah, remember?
That's
So,
true.
you had to wait a while for that, but that's what makes everything about Marvel so good, man. The slow simmer. When you're cooking a nice pot of stew, you don't just microwave that thing. You let that thing cook for 3-4 hours.
It's true.
Marvel,
It's true, man.
they let it cook for years. Even again, from Iron Man to Avengers was 4 years.
Yeah.
They were building up. It was like one movie a year for a little while there. It
Yeah.
felt like,
Now we're spoiled, rotten.
Yeah,
I'm
now
about
I
to
need
get-
like 4 a year.
we're about to get 3 to 4 years
Yes.
this year. It's wild.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that is our list. Phase 1. Thanks for joining us. It was a great phase. We'll always remember it, and we need to go watch it again.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So come on back next week. We will be reviewing Phase 2. I cannot wait to see. I know what's number 1, but I can't wait to see what everyone else has.
Enjoy this Marvel filler series.
Yeah,
that we're
that's
about
right.
To
The
do.
Marvel
Yeah.
filler series.
Yeah.
As we go through the phases, getting ready for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Yes.
Yep.
So
Yes.
get excited. That
Bring
is right
on
around the corner.
Kang. Let's
That's right.
go, baby.
All right. So, for my good friends Sandoval, Sandy, and Shamato, this is T-Roll saying thank you so much for listening to the Royal Geek Podcast. We will see you next time, you peasants.